Good vibes.
Welcome back, everybody, to another live stream. And today we've got two awesome guests, Ryan and Darin, from a YouTube channel called RAD Bike Adventure. They're fellow bike YouTubers, and they've just wrapped up a big, epic 15-month around the world bike trip. And we're going to talk about what it's like to re-enter reality, for lack of better terms. But before we introduce our guests, I want to thank our Patreon supporters who make this content possible. You guys keep the lights on, the computers running, all that good stuff, so we can keep cranking out content every week. I think we're averaging almost like 4 or 5 videos a week now. But here is Darin and Ryan. Yay!
Thanks for being here. All
yeah.
out there. Woo.
Yeah.
And thanks for having us. Super excited.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I think the first video that I saw of yours, which made me hit the subscribe button, was you two were in, I think, a hotel in China, and the power brick of the Mac was broken, and you were doing like some total MacGyver thing. I was like, subscribe. Shenanigans.
We still have that power brick over there, and
Right?
it is still wrapped with tape.
Oh yeah.
It's still functioning.
It's still functioning, and my finger works again.
Nice. So for those that aren't familiar with your channel, I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. Tell us a little bit about your trip. So you traveled for 15 months. Where did you all go?
Well, we started in Europe. It was kind of a plan that we had, or was it a plan inspired by a couple we know in the Netherlands, a mutual friend of RL's, and he had gone from the Netherlands, Amsterdam, to Rome. And so we decided to do the opposite and then visit them towards the end of the trip. And so the trip kind of just started with that. And we thought 3 months of that, and realized our visa would only last 3 months. So then
we originally thought we were just going to do like a big Europe tour, but because of the like Schengen visa situation, we were like, oh shoot, we can only do 3 months there. I mean, only 3 months is a long time, but we knew that we wanted this trip to be some like longer, maybe a year. That's what we had in our minds, like a year-long trip. Yeah. And so then that's when we started thinking about going back to Asia, because I had lived in China and loved my experience there and wanted to revisit my host family, because I had a host family when I was there. And so then we were like, yeah, let's go to China. And we also really, really had heard good things about Taiwan. And so that plan just kind of started to morph. So then we went to Taiwan and China. And then your good friends were living and working in Australia, and you had always wanted to visit Australia and New Zealand. So we thought, like, all right, let's just make it a full lap.
For sure.
And yeah, it just kind of became this, around the world trip, I suppose,
with little shuttle.
And then while we were in
New Zealand or Australia,
I think it was Australia, was when the wheels started spinning in my brain. Like, I don't want this trip to end. And
I was kind of on the fence at first.
Oh yeah, you definitely were.
I'm tired. I'm kind of tired of planning, and I was just like, I'm tired. But it and plus it was getting into winter, and so I was like, oh my gosh, this winter's so long and cold. And New Zealand was really cold. And then you just proposed, why don't we ride home? So we went to Canada and rode home.
Yeah, I just thought it would be a really unique thing to do, to actually ride to my front door. I didn't want the trip to end with a long plane flight and then getting picked up in the car. I mean, I suppose we could have ridden from the airport, but that's not nearly as fun as riding down the West Coast. And then also I had in mind, like, I want to tour the US, because, in this trip, that was what was missing. And neither one of us had ever toured in the US.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah. And so we were like, let's just add that in and do the West Coast.
Yeah. And we were hoping maybe it would help with the reverse culture shock, because we were thinking, it's a slow introduction back into America. But it was kind of a very quick.
It was still, the adjustment was hard. But that was that's the basis of the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you decide to wrap up the trip, were you done with? Were you like emotionally done or physically tired, or what was kind of the cause for pausing the trip for now?
Well, that is funny that you should ask that, because we did consider continuing, I kept making the joke. Yeah, I was like, let's just take a lap when we get to Santa Monica and do like Route 66, or just make a lap of the US, and or like go to Baja. We did have these ideas in our mind, but we also knew like, okay, maybe funds are running a little bit low, and Darin's job is more of a profession. It's a life job, and so it was kind of time to kind of settle into that and put in a couple years with the life job instead of just being a complete vagabond, as I would probably want to do.
Yeah, and being so close to home, we were riding home. I think we might have felt oddly guilty to then
checking in and then piecing out for another year.
Because I think that's what you were doing on your tour. Like you check in and then like leave again.
Right.
I don't know how you did it, because it's like you come home and
there's like a kind of gravity that makes you want to stay planted.
Yeah. There was a bit of that. I mean, and then we had really no choice in the matter because of COVID. So it's like odd. The timing was quite odd. And then we did plan ourselves to arrive like right before the holidays. That was really nice. We got to spend the holidays with our family. And then, we just thought like, this is the time, like, let's just settle in for a bit. And we adopted dogs. And then that was like, okay, we're really settling in.
That was a commitment. I think we had a little bit of did we make the right choice? Should we keep going?
Yeah.
But I mean, now our choice kind of is made, because I know if we had kept going and COVID was happening, we would have come home. Like,
right.
Like, I don't think it would have changed.
Yeah. There must have been a feeling of like, thank goodness, like we did the traveling when we could. Before the world essentially changed.
Yeah,
there's many instances.
100%. No, I think that was also why maybe that part of the adjustment was a little bit easier for us. Like if we had just been planning this whole time and then we were about to do the trip, I mean, that would have been devastating. And we did have some friends that happened to. They took the first flight on their trip hoping that things maybe would recover more quickly, and then had to cancel their whole trip. And so, we definitely had that like extreme gratefulness and appreciation that we did the trip when we did, and that we got all those experiences. So there was that like, silver lining, obviously, in a really awful situation that we really appreciate. Like, oh, thank goodness the timing of it all, like when it happened and when we finished the trip.
I mean, we had good timing all around. I mean, even with Australia, we got to Australia before the fires happened. New Zealand, there was a volcano. We were there before the volcano.
I know, it was like destruction in our wake. The Hong Kong protests. Like everything was happening behind us. It's kind of crazy.
They kind of were when we were there, and they're like, "Oh, are you sure?" And then they definitely happened.
Yeah, the timing.
So where are you guys going next, so we can plan around that?
I'm really fixated at Japan and South Korea, so watch out.
You keep talking about Japan. That is like on your mind recently. I know. I mean, it's like I want to go everywhere, so we keep saying like, okay, Japan. Okay, maybe Japan and Korea. Oh wait, maybe Japan, Korea, and we should just go back to like northern China, or then let's go to the Philippines.
She speaks Mandarin, so that opens up China. Like,
it does.
Huge
change travel. I mean, right now it's weird to like think about traveling anywhere. But then I also go like back into, I really want to go to Central and South America. I've never traveled in those places, and I have like a strong desire to go there. And Mexico, like it's just right next door.
So many places.
Central Asia.
So what are some of the things that you miss most about travel, and some things that make you grateful that you're not constantly moving?
You want to go first?
No, you can go ahead. I feel like
I'm pressed.
She's ready for this one. Because I could just travel forever.
Yeah, she could travel forever. I think I kind of got a little bit of the travel fatigue of like the constant movement. I wanted to maybe just like stay in a place for like a little bit longer. And then honestly, I'm a bit of a foodie, and so cooking our meals, I miss sauces, condiments, and like I like
condiments.
I like baking bread. I like doing barbecue. Yeah, so it's like
you wanted to homestead.
Like I wanted a homestead,
and we're happy to. I think those are the things that we're really appreciating right now. Is we have a garden, and we've got a bunch of butternut squash that are growing there, and that's so exciting to see. And we've planted fruit trees, so those kind of things. Yeah, those I really appreciate. And just having a roof over your head. Like we actually had some crazy rains and winds here, which is unusual, but
every time.
And that was soon after our trip finished, and every night we were like, I'm so thankful to not be sitting out in a tent right now, battling the elements. I mean, there's always that fun sense of adventure, but when you're inside all cozy and warm, you do think like, oh, this was pretty nice.
And I think the shower, like getting a shower in, I was like, oh, a shower, like this is such luxury.
And I still feel like I have to remind myself, appreciate this beautiful warm shower.
I get more
that
than
I have right next to me at all times.
Yeah, I get more than like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember once we were
sorry, what did you say?
I remember once we were traveling through where was it? I think it was like New Mexico, and we were staying with someone from Warm Showers, and they were super excited to show us around the area, go on a hike and all this stuff. Yeah. And he also threw out, or we could just go watch what was that movie at that CGI movie with the blue people? I forget what it's
Avatar.
Called. Or he said we could just go watch Avatar. And we're like, let's watch Avatar, because at that point we've been like in the elements. It was like near the middle of winter, and we're like, no, it's watching a movie sounds good.
Yeah, I think like having that choice too. Whereas when you're on tour, you don't really have the choice a lot of times. It's pouring rain, it's windy. You just keep going. You just keep riding. And so, as much as I do appreciate that like pushes me outside my comfort zone, there is something nice to be said about it's pouring rain today and I don't have to go out in it if I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely miss my like monk status. I miss the riding, that physical exertion, but not too much. You get used to it just enough to where it's not hard anymore. It's like a little hard, but not that hard. So you can just be with what you're doing. You don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to like it's just simplified your life.
Yeah.
And I do miss that. There's so many choices now, It's like your day was kind of made. You ate, you slept, you rode your bike, you saw cool stuff, and then repeat.
I miss that.
Yeah. Simpler times.
Simpler times.
So
what about
before you left on this 15-month trip, did you do shorter tours to prep beforehand? Or
not really.
Not really. You just went for it.
I mean, we did like one test ride overnight to San Diego. And I mean, part of the reason was because actually a lot of people don't know this. We don't really talk about it, but Darin unfortunately tore her ACL.
Right before.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, you healed just in time. Like we were kind of on the cusp of like, are we even going to be able to do this tour because of this injury? And if anybody has torn their ACL or knows the injury, it takes a year to recover. It's quite a long time. It's a crazy recovery. I mean, even some people will say a year and a half to really feel normal. Yeah. But luckily cycling is one of those things that you can do. So that was, I think, another reason that we didn't do as much biking as maybe we could have
in the beginning. Because I was only 6 months post operation, I think, when we first started. So a few of those climbs I could definitely feel, and I was like, I'm not sure how long of days we can do. So in the beginning of the trip, we kind of shortened it up a little bit, like our days. But then, like partway through Europe, my knee was.
You were fine.
I was fine.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing mountain biking. Well, not you weren't, but before you injured yourself, we were mountain biking every weekend, and kind of getting into that routine, just like little things, but nothing like miniature tour wise. We had done a tour previously, but that was like a few years before that. So. Yeah,
not really. I mean, we did that tour in Southeast Asia, and I feel like that taught us that you honestly don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to train.
You get the fitness.
Just do it as you're going. You just build up slowly.
You don't need to.
Probably not to everyone's liking, but yeah, it worked for us.
Yeah. So I watched your one of your recent videos on how much the trip cost and your budgeting. Yeah. And all that. That was pretty fascinating. How long did it take you guys to save up to do the trip?
Well, in between the last trip and this most recent trip, the whole time we were thinking like, when can we travel again? When can we travel again? And so our entire goal, I think that was about, wasn't it like 2 years?
Yes, because it was 18 months. We paid off my school loans.
Yep.
So I paid off my school loans in 18 months after we got back from our last trip.
We were just like living like paupers at all times to pay off loan. We lived at home. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Thank you.
Both our parents. that helped save a lot. And yeah, we just saved.
Yeah, and then it was like 6 months after that. And then 6 months after that, we just saved everything we earned.
Right. Basically, I just
and then we sold a bunch of things.
Yeah, cleared out our stuff, sold some other bikes, just anything we could find in the house. Basically, had a big garage sale.
Which surprisingly, you can make pretty good money just from. You think,
right? But yeah, it was like a couple years. I mean, but we also were paying off a loan. But living at home really helped.
That helped.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, from where we live, like rent is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So if you can get low rent, then you could probably save quicker.
Yeah, not as many dinners out, not as many milk tea runs.
No milk tea. No
Sorry,
I know.
Sorry. But that's so hard though. That's just like the joys in life.
I know.
I mean, but so in saying that,
some milk tea, but I wouldn't be able to get 3 ingredients. Only boba. No lychee. No pudding.
Make sure you get no ice.
No ice.
No ice. So it's filled up more. It's little tricks like that. Yeah. No, I would say like we would treat ourselves, like we definitely would still go to concerts and things, but we were just really conscious of where we were spending our money. And yeah, I think that helped to save a little more quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's the, and it's gonna just be a big question, but like what are some of the life lessons that you learn all those months on the road?
I think going back to what we were saying with just simplifying life, it's just like what you really need in life is not that many things, and what you can do with and without really becomes clear. And it's funny, I think because you are pulling your belongings along with you, you really realize what is important to you or what gets used most in your life, and that you just kind of start to become aware of like, I'm just this being existing, and all the other stuff is just for fun, and it's helping me, to go on these adventures, but really it's just like our relationships and just interacting with the world around us. You just like really get, I think, more in touch with that than you would on a regular basis, just going to your job every day or something like that. And I think also being in the elements does something to me, at least. Like I just love that feeling of being outside and just like really being in touch with what's going on in the world.
And with like the weather and nature.
Yeah. And you do have to be more aware of it too. Whereas in everyday life, you can kind of get away with ignoring it. But when you're on your bike,
you're inside, you've got air conditioner or like a heater.
Yeah.
It's like pretend life.
Yeah, totally.
I think also for myself, it's just realizing how kind everyone is and how willing to help they are. Like no one's out to get you.
It does restore your faith in humanity. There's that.
You stop being afraid. Like the fear that people hold is just unnecessary. It's like everyone's afraid. Like, and then I think,
like you're not just afraid. Like everyone feels afraid about things. Yeah.
Like we're in our tent by ourselves. Like like they don't know it's 2 women. It could be 2, really large men.
Right. And they're afraid of seeing that.
And they're afraid of seeing the tent there. Not necessarily I should be afraid of someone else. And I think also just how similar everyone is across the board, like around the world, like there are similarities. I mean, being American, I feel like we are quite different from the rest of the world sometimes. But
here they come.
Yeah, here they come. Yeah, we are loud and we are obnoxious. I understand. But fun.
And we'll tell you our whole life story.
Actually, I think that is the number one. I think just learning about ourselves. I don't think Americans realize what we are like.
Like it was like you could like self-reflect of your own culture, became more aware of you being
away.
In another
to compare. I think that's the biggest takeaway is learning.
Give me an example of a moment that made you reflect.
I think that because that was the biggest thing. I was just like, oh, that's very American of me to like like not approve that nudity or like strong language, or things like that.
Just cultural differences. You need to realize. But it's interesting because at the same time realizing how similar.
But how similar everyone is. Like there's food, shelter,
right.
Community, and then there's all these like little in betweens where you're like, oh, you don't do it that way. Oh,
totally.
It's different here.
It's different here.
And I love that. I love that. I do
Yeah.
miss that. I miss things just being unexpected and different every day. That's one of the things I absolutely love about traveling, and it's something that I miss. To be sure,
you really like the people watching.
Yeah, and just like scenery changing and having things be unexpected and new and stimulating, and I like thrive on that. I love being thrown into it in a different culture and feeling like the outsider. I really enjoy that. I find it really, really interesting. And I feel like it's always a learning experience and a growing experience. Like, oh, I like the way you're doing that. I would never have thought of that. And I'm going to take that.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to do a little commercial break real quick. So if you guys are just joining us, we are chatting with Darin and Ryan from the YouTube channel RAD Bike Adventure. I'm going to admit that I subscribe to very few bike YouTube channels just because I don't want to be influenced by what other people are doing. But these two are just so dang entertaining. And I love how they present touring. They make it accessible. And I really appreciate that it's not just, the typical dudes that are on some, grand adventure. Because I feel like that's way overrepresented.
Yeah, no, and people have told us that. It's really nice to hear, because sometimes I get hard on myself, like, oh, our journey isn't epic enough, or my videos aren't polished enough. And I'm like, no, that's the great thing, right? Is that I do feel like we can make it more accessible and show that it's just people riding their bikes.
You're just riding your bike.
Yeah, don't overcomplicate it to make it something like, oh my God, I could never do that. Like, if anything, I want our message to be, if anyone can do it. If you really are interested in it, like, absolutely go for it. And yeah, just to make people feel welcome. For sure. So that's really touching. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I know,
it's
really it stinks not to see as many women, because when we're on the road, we do see women traveling by themselves or, with their partner, with their husband, with their, and it's, I just think it's underrepresented.
Yeah. We're going to change that.
Yeah, I hope so. Like, I mean, like I look at the YouTube cycling landscape, the videos that get suggested to me, and it's always kind of the same type of cycling. And it's just so, I don't know, it's kind of boring. I don't know. I really appreciate
more diversity. I think just I need to be comfortable in being ourselves, and I hope to reach more beginners too. Like, I think that's especially with so many people getting on bikes right now with COVID, I think that's a really exciting time that people are a little more willing to say, oh, I'd like to try cycling again. And maybe they could veer into, cycling and traveling as well. That's a thing that I could potentially do. Maybe
you can do it as a woman even.
Yeah.
Something social distance.
That's right. Plenty of fresh air, exercise.
You can eat whatever you want.
So let's talk about food, because that's one of the things that I love most about travel. Like, what if you could name your top 3 favorite meals that you had on the road, what would they be?
Oh, okay. That we just anywhere. Oh man, China comes to mind. Taiwan.
China.
But Taiwan also with
China.
Lily.
With Lily. Okay, Lily in Thailand or Taiwan. Yeah. So we stayed with a chef who was native from Taiwan, lived with her for like a month, and she cooked incredible boar that pig that she hunted, or like it.
Oh wow.
Like that she roasted herself.
Her cousin had, and she had it like over the wood fire, and she would roast it every single morning, because she also worked at the what was the name of the museum? It was the Indigenous Studies museum that was there in that town. Yeah. And so she had a restaurant there, and she would take food over there, but of course we would always get to share in some of those meals, and those were just incredible. The food was so good. And we also did go out and harvest some of the leaves. There's some
vegetation and stuff.
Yeah, there's like this local plant that they eat, and so she would make some unique cuisine with that, and really, really delicious food. So that stands out. Let's see other meals that were a favorite. So many tasty things.
I mean, China is just so good. It's the food there. I mean, I feel like that's where food started.
Yeah.
Like
it's like cuisine, you mean? Cuisine. Like really thinking about so the culture is so ancient, and we were there for Chinese New Year. Yeah. And so we did get a bit spoiled. We had some incredible meals during Chinese New Year. The province
we were in is the Guangdong province, which is, they don't have hobbies. they eat food.
Yeah, their hobby is food and like making delicious food.
Yeah, that's what they'd always tell us. They're like, "Oh, we don't go and do things like we go and eat."
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, we'll drive an hour to go to the new coconut chicken restaurant," and we did get to do that. Actually, that was pretty cool. So that stands out. Let's see.
And then I think cooking our own meals in New Zealand. We had lamb.
Yeah,
like
lamb
every night.
Sorry, vegetarians, but the lamb there is.
So let's talk about food in New Zealand. Like Laura and I, we were there for a couple months, and I have to say I apologize if there are any Kiwis in the chat, but I was a little underwhelmed by the food there. It's kind of like,
when was that?
That would have been like 2012. So maybe things have changed, but it was very much. It was like meat pies and beets on everything.
Yes, they love beets. Yeah, I would say we had a few. I felt like the cafes, like you could find some. It's getting better.
Yeah, it's getting
Australia.
Better. I mean,
Australia,
when their cuisine is meat pie.
But the lamb was amazing. So I guess that was more like cooking for ourselves with
ingredients that cooking for ourselves. We definitely didn't.
We didn't eat out a lot there.
No, because it's. I mean, Australia too. Not to say anything about Australia and New Zealand, but it's a big island that's really far away from people. And,
but remember our hosts Jenny and Graham in Australia, he had worked as a chef and he cooked us some unbelievable meals, like with presentation included, like the drizzling on top.
What do you think about warm showers?
That was an incredible warm showers host. She refused to like let us do anything. I was like, oh, I'll help with the dishes. She's like, no, you're my guest. Go sit, just go relax. Would you like some Milo, a cup of cocoa?
Ooh.
And I remember
Did you discover Milo when you were
no, what is that?
It's delicious.
It's chocolate malted milk. So instead of, like malt, like vanilla malt, it's chocolate malt. It's like Hershey's, but actually tasty and delicious.
It's like if Nesquik was really delicious.
Yeah.
And you could even like sprinkle it on everything and just like people will eat it like by the spoonful too.
Just dry.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
So that was good.
Yeah.
That was a good discovery. No, I think the lamb was good.
Asia definitely stands out for
Asia's the best. I mean, Southeast Asia too. I mean, the street vendors, like you could just ride your bike. You don't even have to like stop. You can just be like, oh, like coconut water. Oh, sugarcane juice.
Yeah.
Oh, lady like has been roasting a pig for 2 days. Like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Okay, so Alex here asks, what about kangaroo? Do you guys get a chance to try any kangaroo while you're in Australia?
I don't think we did. I think they talked about it.
No, wait. Did we have a burger somewhere?
Oh, tastes like chicken.
Yeah, I think we had a burger. That was like
a
young Joey Roo Roo burger.
I don't remember that, but I think we did have a kangaroo burger.
I don't think it tastes.
It was all right.
Mixed. I think it was a mixed one or something, like how we do it, where it's like part bison.
Right.
Yeah, it was all right.
So is there anything that you brought? I mean, I think typically when most people go on tour, they end up shipping a bunch of stuff back. Oh, yeah. What are some things that you thought might have been useful or essential in the beginning, but found you weren't using and that you ended up sending back?
Yeah, nice clothes.
Yeah,
that went quickly. Well, because we were thinking, we're going to be in Europe. Europeans dress up a little bit more. We should have a few outfits to go out, like as if we were going to go out. I don't know what we were thinking. That got sent back quickly.
Yeah. You had a lot of like electronic equipment.
Yeah,
because we weren't sure, because this was the first time we were going to like film the trip. So she had brought a lot like extra battery chargers and cables, and
I definitely pared down, like instead of having the charger for my batteries, I just realized I could charge in body, which that's a really good tip. If any of you guys get a camera, make sure it can charge in body, then you don't have to bring like the charging thing. So I sent those back. I think it was mostly clothes, like extra shoes, things like that.
A lot of clothes,
just like some extra tools and things that we didn't need. We're like, we don't need like another wrench,
right?
It was little bits and bobs.
But we definitely, I was not afraid to send things back in multiple times. Like, don't feel guilty, because we did it like 2 or 3 times, and then a couple times we picked up gifts for people.
Yeah,
and
I was
then
gonna say some of that
picked
was
up gifts and then shipped them home.
Right.
I think that was a smart move, because before, when we were in Southeast Asia, we'd pass by all these cool things and we wouldn't get them because we would think,
oh, we don't want to carry it.
We're not gonna carry this big old thing. But
there's some unique items that we passed up that now in retrospect, I think we should have just paid a little bit to ship it back home. And like all of our souvenirs just come from the last place where we were.
Yeah, like we have a bunch of stuff from Laos.
Yeah, everyone's like, well, where's this from? Laos. That was the last stop on the trip.
That was from the Luang Prabang.
Vientiane. Yeah, that was our last stop.
Yeah. Cool. So here in the YouTube chat, if you have any questions for Ryan or Darin from RAD Bike Adventure, just let me know and I will throw it up on the screen. So you've got a YouTube channel. What are the goals for it?
Good question. Goals are definitely to get more women, I think, attracted to cycling and cycle touring.
And beginners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do more interviews. That's kind of it's been in my mind for a long time. And through like halfway through the tour, I would say I started thinking about that and like, oh, I should be interviewing people while we're on the road. And I did a few, but yeah, I wasn't organized enough to really set things up along the way, which would have been really cool. I think next time I would do that.
Because honestly, while we're cycling, there's so many interesting people you meet along the way, and you just have these conversations, and then you're like, oh shoot, like that would have been a really cool person to show the world.
Yeah,
like anyone.
I feel like you did that, Russ. Didn't you on your tour? I've looked back at some of your old videos, and you would interview people. I do wish that I would have done that. I think part of I have a fear still of like filming people. Like I feel bad that I'm sticking a camera in their face, and I think I need to just kind of get over that so I can share more people's experiences. Like that's my one critique. Well, I have many critiques, but my one main critique of our vlogs is that I didn't interview or like bring enough people into the videos that weren't us, simply just because I didn't feel comfortable filming them. And I think I should have just been more
apt. Bad being like, hey, you want to?
Yeah. Be more apt to ask someone, and then if they say yes, then hey, green light, and if not, then that's okay too. But definitely more women, more beginners, and like I said, interviewing I think would be really unique way to maybe attract that kind of audience if people are seeing people that they can relate to and that they would look up to, or just who's doing a basic tour like we did, to see. I just feel like
so many people are on the cusp of going on a trip, and they're watching these videos, they're doing all the research, but then they're still nervous to do it. And I feel like with maybe this channel, we could just show people like just do it.
Right.
Just go for it. Like, look, you don't have to be the guy that knows every component, of your bike, or you don't have to like be an awesome mechanic, or you don't have to be this like crazy person that isn't afraid of anything. It's like it can be anything.
Right.
Yeah, I think like, we've been making videos on the channel for a while and just, creating content around bikes for like over a decade.
Yeah.
And I've kind of hit this, I like to call epic fatigue insofar as when something is marketed as so big, the intent is to be inspirational, but like to me, like my reaction is like, oh, not another one of these, kind of drone shot, music, and then some kind of throaty voiceover. It's like so hackneyed, like I want reality. I want like people that aren't perfect, that screw up, that make mistakes on camera, because that to me is more inspiring than just another person that that they're going to succeed. It's just a matter of filling that story in with beautiful shots, and there's no real drama,
Right. Yeah, and they were talking. I was listening to the Dynamo Jenny interview that you did, and they were talking about that, right? Like that those are almost the more interesting things, is when something goes wrong or the struggle, or you don't know if they're going to succeed, like you're saying. And I think there is something about that of leaving it a little more raw. And I remember you saying that in another video, I can't remember which one, but about like the drone shot thing, like, oh god, another drone shot. And like just being okay with it being that little bit more rough around the edges, letting it be more human. And I think people are now becoming a little bit more attracted to that too, just because it's like, oh, I just want to be real with you. I don't want this, kind of YouTube posing or like everything's perfect. And
you know, the connection.
Yeah,
like human connection.
Just try to connect with people more on a real level, as opposed to trying to show like how epic my life is or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have to give the viewership some kind of credit. They're a little bit more sophisticated than people watching movies in the 40s and 50s, right? They understand like what's going on, what production value is, like how things are edited, how things are made. Everyone's pretty familiar with the process.
Right.
And just to kind of present like the same tropes over and over again, I think is dull.
Yeah. No, I
usually
agree.
whenever I open up like a bike video, and if the first like 5 shots are drone shots, I'm just like
yeah, no, totally. And I think there probably is a place for a drone. Like I was kind of researching and doing this like film course online, and this filmmaker was saying like absolutely have a drone in your kit, but you should be like very, very wary of using it for like an epic drone shot. Like just use it as another camera. It could just be at eye level, like where you maybe couldn't otherwise go, like over a lake or something, but it's still staying at eye level, but you can't put a tripod out there. And I thought that was like a really valuable piece of information. Like just think of it as another camera, not like I have to make it this epic thing. Cause you're right. When you see it, it's just like, oh, okay, here we go. Like 20 seconds of this.
Right. And some kind of like electro pop dance in the background.
I think I've been guilty of some electro pop.
Yeah. Like I've been there. It wasn't like that.
So when you decided to start filming yourselves, how did you overcome the awkwardness of kind of this whole meta situation?
Darin's like haven't.
Never.
I don't think I have yet. I just tried.
She's reluctant.
I think at first I didn't realize what was involved.
Yeah. I was like, hey, we're going to vlog this.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing your thing. Sure. And then it's like camera and face. So I wish I had a compilation of Darin's like roll eyes.
What are you doing?
Stop what you're doing face.
Well, my problem is I get so like focused.
Right.
And I was like, okay, your focus is I think I made it too like separate. Like you're videoing and I will make sure everything else
I'm
is
surviving
okay.
over here.
I'm surviving. Like I'm figuring out like where our water is and where our next stop will be.
Yeah.
You can do the video. So I just needed to let that go and join in a little bit and be like, okay, I can.
Yeah, because I mean, it does change things a little bit. It's like, say you're making dinner and I'm like, hey, I'd like to film you making dinner. And then I walk away to go get the camera and stuff, and I come back and dinner is made. I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I made dinner. Where were you?
It took you 10 minutes to go get the camera. So sorry.
So, yeah, no, but putting myself on camera, I did a little bit of like theater and acting and stuff in school. So I had a bit of experience with that. Being on camera is definitely different. But I don't know. I just always wanted to try video, and I was always very intimidated by it. And I think I just got to this part of my life where I was like, get over it. Just go for it and stop thinking about it. You keep saying you want to try it. So just here you go, try it and see what happens. So I think that I just had to try to be kind to myself instead of criticizing. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's one of the things I love about the YouTube platform. It's I think people make videos with all different varying levels of production value, and viewers also don't expect like perfection. It's not a movie theater where everything has to be beautifully choreographed and graded and everything. It can be a little bit rougher. I think those are kind of more interesting. So I looked at when we started making videos, I looked at YouTube as kind of like it's just a playground, and it's okay if I make mistakes. There's gonna be a bunch of asinine comments that you'll have to deal with, but it's kind of cool to look back and see how you progress, either as an editor or even as a presenter,
Totally. I know. I look back at some of those old videos and I think, oh, I would have changed that, or I definitely left that shot too long. Little critiques and things, which I think it's a really cool thing to have, because it does mean that I've grown a bit and that I have learned along the way. So that's been a pretty cool experience, because there's definitely been this voice in my head of like, what am I doing? Have I even gotten better at this? Like, why is anybody even watching? But yeah, no,
I think you guys are doing a great job.
I never feel comfortable walking through a supermarket with a camera pointed at your face talking to it. That just will always remain awkward forever.
Right. I know that like when Laura and I go out on a bike ride, I have to warn her in advance if I'm planning to make a video. Like she does not like it. Does not like having the camera sprung on her without a kind of future notice. Same. Darin's
I think Darin and Laura would get along really well.
I need a little bit. Sometimes a heads up is like as I'm getting my bike out, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do like a video thing."
I'm thinking about vlogging this. What do you think? Oh,
like okay.
I'm like, are you mad at me now?
No, I'm not mad. I just need to be. I just like to be.
Yeah,
prepared.
definitely a heads up is good. I realize I need to be a better director.
Yes, we're directing. Start directing. Come on.
That was actually a realization I had, because at first I would get upset at you for not filming something.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Like, you're not as into the video thing. Like, you have been very gracious and come along on the trip and been a really integral part of the channel, but it wasn't the first thing on your mind. So I just realized, like, I have to let you know or ask you, like, hey, can you turn the camera on for this? Or do you mind doing this? Instead of just being like, why didn't you film that?
Yeah. Because I'd be like, oh, tell me what shots you need for the day. Like, oh, you really want a shot of, you riding sideways, or, like, you have to think of the shots.
So, or just like calling back to you, like, hey, can you turn the camera on right now? I think this would be a cool shot while we're going down this hill. So communication, always key.
I feel like communication is key with like any relationship or friendship or that's typically
that's what I was going for.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it's different, as a couple when you're at home and you can do your own separate things, but when you're traveling together, you're like together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was there initial friction and all that time together, and how did you overcome that?
Luckily we do get along pretty well, just in general. Like, I feel like we've both been in other relationships where we're like more independent, but I would say that our relationship on a daily basis, we are pretty like interactive with each other. So that does help a bit. But yeah, being together 24/7 in under stressful situations, and when you're hungry and tired,
or what did we call it? Hangry.
There's another one.
It's like you're hungry, tired.
What was the other one?
Angry, but you're hungry and you're tired.
I don't remember. Yeah, there was someone gave us a new one that wasn't hangry. It was even better. I'll have to think of it.
But typically that would be the case, is that.
And we just had to realize that, like, if Darin was being short or I was being short, it was like, do you need a snack?
Like, you need to stop.
A lot of times it's like you become a 2-year-old. You're like, you need a nap and you need a snack.
Yeah.
And now you're okay.
Yeah.
And I feel like we did have to give each other space sometimes, like, for sure, emotions are going to bubble
a couple
over.
times it would just be like, okay, I'm just going to ride ahead. But honestly, I think like it was a couple times.
Yeah, it didn't happen too often. And I think just being on the same page with your partner, whoever that is that you're going to ride with, the trip that you're going to do. Because I think that often becomes the point of tension, is like the one person is, thinking, which I did kind of have to give up a little bit with that. Like, you don't really feel super comfortable wild camping. You'll do it. Yeah. But you kind of want to know beforehand, and you want to like scout out some places and take a look. Maybe this might be a good place to wild camp. Whereas I would just go and be like, I'll figure it out as I go. And so just knowing compromise. Yeah, just knowing what kind of travel you want to do. Are you a person that wants to stay in a hotel every night? Do you want to wild camp under the freeway bridge if that's like necessary? Like, knowing where your limits are, so then you don't just kind of spring something unexpected on that person, or just get upset at them for not wanting to or not wanting to do something.
Right.
So I think we kind of had to discuss that partway through the trip of like, are you not okay with wild camping? Because I really want to. Yeah. And you just saying like, I'm okay with it as long as I can like scout ahead of time and maybe do some research. Like, so I think that really helped a lot too, because that was like a really one of the few problems that we had. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, I think.
Did we answer the question? What's happening?
Being on the same page. I feel like that's what people get into trouble with. I totally agree. Is like, they don't know. They have a different idea of what their trip is going to be like. It's
like two different trips happening on at the same time. I remember reading this one book. I forget what it was. It was either Miles from Nowhere or Vagabonding.
I love Miles from Nowhere. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know which one it was from, but it was talking about long-term travel. And the sentence was something like, the first thing that you give up is privacy, So did you ever, like, I know for Laura and I, you ride together, you spend all this time together, that like sometimes at camp we just go our separate ways, not because we hated each other, but I think as a person you need kind of like your own personal space at times to process.
Definitely. No, and I think that was kind of similar for us. Like, we had our tasks at camp,
Yeah, I was just about to say, I feel like we'd have our tasks. And I think like
that was kind of our space. Like you would often start setting up the tent. I would usually help you with that, like starting it. And then I would either start getting like some of the cook stuff ready or just go and upload footage and just kind of like try to get that done. And so, yeah, we would have some time apart there. It's like it almost just gets naturally built in. That is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just with our routine that we'd have like a little, or like if we happen, I mean, this was back when we were in the States, like having a camp shower or whatever, it would be like, oh, we get to go do our shower and have a little bit. But I don't think it was ever needed.
We do like spending a lot of time together. It's weird. I don't know.
Maybe we're a little codependent.
It might be a problem.
All right, here's a question from Sean Gold. Is there any hobby or skill that you picked up during your tour? I tried to learn harmonica while touring, and I was very unsuccessful.
It's a tough instrument. It's surprisingly tough. It's so small. You think like
I had this dream of getting one of those neck harnesses and like playing the harmonica while going up a hill.
I could see that.
I want you to like. You should go back to this.
You could fly
to
fish
learn
at the same
skill.
Right.
Riding your bicycle.
I could see
fly fish, harmonica, and birding all at the same time.
You're in Missoula. This is the time.
And you have like have like a little fancy bespoke case for it and everything.
Right.
Well, when we were in Taiwan, we stayed with a warm shower.
He was our harmonica.
He was our harmonica player.
Oh, really?
Like,
awesome.
The question.
I know, but I'm just saying. It's possible.
I think that I learned how to edit video better. That was kind of my goal, and just figure that out. So that was probably my skill, was just getting better at video editing. What other
It was supposed to be get better at starting a fire without alcohol, but I don't know if that proved quite difficult. I did not learn that fire steal. She's like, give me the lighter. I gave up. I don't know. I thought I was gonna be like super woods woman. I feel like I was able to build fires better and like
you did. You definitely got better at that.
Not the person that's like doing the
not yet
whittling with
I think that if you really sat down because you were also like, I'm hungry. So,
I'm like, let's just get this going. I was like, I totally started it without the long call.
I don't know if there's any other hobbies or skills though. No,
we used to call we used to call those Boy Scout fires whenever we could start the fire without using any kind of accelerant.
Right, proper.
I don't know. Sometimes it's just so cold and wet and
true.
Well, we had a little frisbee. We were gonna do that, but then we lost that.
Lost the frisbee.
I was gonna draw, but then I think I like sent back the notebook.
I think the skill of just like knowing when to shift gears right on a hill. That was always really satisfying once you finally get into the right groove.
I was working on my fishtail.
The sweet skids.
Little sweet skid. Yeah, we did work on that.
The weight. I was like, I got this.
And I was trying to like lift my back tire. That was another weight. I didn't have weight on. Just for sitting there.
I still haven't perfected the one hand. She can do the video cameraing with one hand.
Riding with no hands. I did get more comfortable with that. These are like super bike nerd skills.
So what was when you were filming, what was your main camera? Was it the little Sony Action Cam, or did you have another one with you?
No, the Sony Action was definitely the one that I went to most. It was just the most reliable, I found, for sound and picture quality.
GoPro, it would freeze on me all the time.
Yeah.
It'd go from 100% to 0 battery out of nowhere.
Right.
And then you thought it was a recording, and then halfway through it would say like error. And it would be one of those epic shots.
Right.
The Sony was great. It really was reliable. So I'm happy that we got that camera.
Yes.
I think it's still like the sleeper vlogging camera.
Yeah.
Like
I'm seeing more people with it though. I've noticed like on some other YouTube videos, like, hey, they got the Sony. I see that shadow. I recognize that.
The picture quality is just
you have one of those now too, right?
Yeah. It's what I love about it is that one, it always turns on when you hit the on button, unlike the GoPro.
Yes.
The battery, I can shoot like 2.5 days with it, and it's got the best audio out of any so-called vlogging camera, like better than Canon G7X, even like the Sony Mark whatever. the new GoPros, it's like hands down. Like I don't know. It's if the image stabilization were a little bit better, then I think more people would use it. But as it is, it's pretty good.
I agree. Yeah, the audio straight out. If you're like a foot away from that, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I tried putting an external mic with it, but it comes in really hot. Have you tried that?
I did that. I experimented with an external mic, and then like comparing it, it's like it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah,
and it sounds pretty dang good already at that distance.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same conclusion I came to as well.
Yeah, I modded mine a little bit. I'll show you. I'll grab it real quick.
Oh yeah, I want to see.
Oh yeah, aren't you the king of the
fire show? I'm looking at some of these comments here. Oh yeah,
totally. And by mod, it's not really a mod. It's just.
Did you put a little mustache on it?
Yeah, so I got the little lens thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep. And then.
Oh yeah, you did.
This is just held on by a rubber band, and the case makes it easier to do.
Oh, that's a good idea. I had the little cover on, but I found that the dust would get in there really, really easily. Do you just have like a little blowy thing to blow the dust out, or?
So this is like a lavalier muff. It wasn't made specifically for this, and I just like cut it open and just rubber band it on. So.
But I mean the lens cover though.
Yeah, it gets a little dusty. I'll make sure to wipe it. If I'm doing a PC camera, but it doesn't seem to get on the inside.
Huh?
That's what you mean.
Maybe I just need to like secure it better. But I was going Renegade with nothing on the lens. It was very risky.
I know, and I dropped that thing a couple of times. Because I had it, and then halfway through the trip, we realized how much of a better camera it was.
We switched. Yeah. So we each had a camera, so that helped too. Because the GoPro, we got the Hero 5 because we saw it was on sale for like $225 or something. And I was like, you know what? Let's just get a GoPro just to have that as well. And that was nice to have two cameras, two different angles.
Yeah. And it's nice not to have a case and all that, but the reliability.
Yeah, it's not reliable at all.
I was surprised. I did not know.
Good marketing.
Yeah. And
pro tip, everyone, if you want to be a professional bike vlogger,
that's right.
Get
that one. I agree.
Affiliate link in the description below. No,
do it.
Yeah, but what I do love about this is like when you film with something like this, you totally have to focus on the narrative because you're not going to win over anyone with kind of the visual production value. So you have to be a good presenter and just capture a story well. And like this totally simplifies it because there's no focus. You just hit the button, which always turns on, by the way.
Yes. No, I agree. And I think it is really tempting to kind of go down that rabbit hole of like, I need the best this and that. And then you start realizing how much it's going to cost and questioning like, why am I upgrading? What is this desire to get the newest thing? Like really the most important thing is the story. And it could be, pretty low quality visually, but if the story is engaging, you're going to keep watching. If it's beautiful and it's boring, it's like, no.
Yeah. I also found like with stuff like this, it's, I would film more the more accessible the camera was. If I traveled with like a bigger camera and it took like 3 steps to get out of the case, then it wasn't happening. You'd be too tired. But with this, it's like I literally ride with it in my shirt pocket. And
nice.
Like this. And that's why I always wear shirts with pockets.
I see. Shirt pocket. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree because she had a big camera.
I actually have mine here.
She never.
I go selfie stick. Well, look at this. It's so naked. Naked.
That looks so risky when I look at that.
It's gotten a little beat up. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a few chunks taken out of this thing. It is a soft
case, like the.
But I mean, considering, and that was only because it wasn't mounted on your handlebar mount securely. That's the only time it came off.
Yeah, I'd be careful with handlebar mounts because the vibration of the bike.
You just have to make sure it's really,
really bang it down. But yeah, you wouldn't take out her better camera a lot of the time. So having the Sony Action was way better because you would more likely like bust it out and be like, oh, look at that cool shot, or like, oh, I want to talk about something.
I think I filmed 80% of the trip with that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's like almost all our riding videos are filmed with this, and some of our like most watched videos are just filmed with action cameras. And that's when it really dawned on me. It's like, why am I spending so much on like bigger cameras when I can, get, as, good enough results.
Right.
With just smaller cameras.
Like, get the settings right on some of those bigger, like the other cameras. You're like, oh, I want to make sure it's, in the right everything. And that also takes a lot of time too, when it's just like, instead record.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so let's take it home here. What's next for the channel?
I think bike packing, at least for vlogging.
Yeah, for vlogging.
Bike packing or shorter bike trips with puppies.
Maybe. We'll see how that goes.
They've gotten larger, so we were anticipating a little smaller.
Yeah, they were rescues, so we weren't really sure how big they were going to get, and they seem to keep growing. So the idea of having them in a trailer behind us on a road tour is getting like a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah.
Impossible. We'll see. I don't know if I want to carry a 70-pound dog up a hill.
If I wasn't willing to carry a notebook that was 1 pound.
Yeah. But yeah, I think more
e-cargo bike or something.
I know, right? Oh man, that is a possibility. Our friends just did that actually in the Netherlands. Just did that. Yeah,
I think Bosch is based out of your area.
Who is
the Bosch? They make the really fancy mid-drive e-bike motors. That might be someone that
could be a possibility. Could be a possibility. Yeah, but I think right now we're like thinking more trail, like overnighters, few nights bike packing, that kind of stuff, for, like you're saying, for vlogs. But then otherwise, we just want to try to review all the gear that we brought with us, because people are always asking us about the gear, and I feel like that's oftentimes what people are looking for on YouTube is like, oh, I'd like to see, what you thought of this piece of equipment during your long trip. So a lot more gear reviews, a lot more tips, and hopefully just kind of information videos, like FAQs for cycle tourists that are maybe just getting into it, and just like very, very basic bike things, bike mechanic stuff. I mean, I'm not a very experienced mechanic, so it'd also be, a learning experience for me. But what I do know, I'd like to share with other people, and just, again, kind of show them that it doesn't have to be super high techy or
involved.
Involved.
I think also travel guides, we kind of want to do like almost kind of like a Lonely Planet, guide to Taiwan. Like that's like our most requested thing. We're constantly getting emails about, how'd you ride in Taiwan? Like, what was it like? What were the campsites like? Where'd you eat? Just like the basic.
Yeah, that's actually been a project in my mind for a while. Is like country by country or region, just doing like a big overview of, what is that place like? What are the roads like? What is it like? Where can I get food and water? What's the culture like? And just kind of covering the basics on like a country. So then if someone types in, bike packing or bike touring Germany, then we can have a video about what our experience was there. So that's another thing definitely to look forward to on the channel.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be totally into a Taiwan biking guide.
Nice, right?
Mostly I want to make a visit. Like I want to visit some of the factories there that make bikes and tires and
kind of
cool.
Yeah, we almost got to go to the Kona factory, but we were like a week too late. They had already left.
We were like on the opposite side of the island, which you can get there in a day on the train.
Yeah.
Someone commented RAD Dog Adventure.
That
caught you right too.
All dogs are rad.
There you go.
That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I did see a comment that they wanted to know our trail name.
Our trail name?
Yeah.
Do you have trail names?
We did.
What?
Juicy Jags. And
oh yeah.
Our friend was Juicy Jags because we realized she drinks an ungodly amount of water. Like so much water.
But the name still isn't really explained very well. No. Juicy Jaguar. That was playing a game, and she was like, we were doing alliterations of animals, riding along, you're like bored trying to think of games to do. So we we're all making
like let's play this game.
Yeah. And somehow she became Juicy Jaguar.
Yeah, the Juicy
nice.
Jaguar.
Well, what was your trail name?
It ended. There was a lot of. It ended with Imperial Mandarin.
Oh, that's true.
The Imperial Mandarin.
So that was because we went to a brewery, and we were looking at the sign, and instead of it saying like Mandarin beer, it was Man-Darin, and we're like, what is this beer called Mandarin?
I was like,
Darin, it's your beer.
Nice.
So then because they have the Imperial Mandarins, at the store.
Imperial Mandarin is a type of Mandarin. And then I didn't realize my name was in Mandarin this whole time.
Right.
I was like, oh, my name is in Mandarin.
So you're Imperial Mandarin.
Yeah. It's kind of good with my personality.
Did I have a trail name though? What was my trail name?
Oh shoot! What was your
I got left out.
You got left
That's okay. I have like 1,000
Yeah,
nicknames
you have
from the
enough
rest of my
names.
life.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had one for me.
Oh shoot! I don't know. Caitlin, what was her nickname?
Yeah, Caitlin, are you there?
Yeah,
what was my nickname?
The director.
The director.
Right.
No, I can't remember.
Female Obama.
Female Obama.
There you go.
Apparently, my speech cadence sometimes sounds like Barack Obama, so they started calling me Female Obama.
Especially when she got into her mode of like, let me tell you about what I think about things.
I never heard it, but
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys said that.
it was just the tone. It was very like
Right.
Okay.
Cool. Well, I'm going to take us home here.
Go.
If you guys have not already, be sure to subscribe to RAD Bike Adventure. They've got a great backlog of videos from all over the world, and look for new kind of fun bikey tips and what have you. And with that, thank you so much, Darin and Ryan, for being on the YouTube show, or the YouTube channel.
Your live stream.
The live stream. We're here. It
The
is
live stream, right? Yeah,
We're raw.
yeah.
We're real.
Yeah.
We don't always get it right. Thank you so
Right.
much, Russ. That was a
Thank you,
blast.
Russ.
That was awesome.
Cool.
Thank you guys for all
And,
being here too. That was really fun.
Yeah. So before I start off, we've got lots of other content coming on the way. Laura and I are actually gonna go fishing and biking tomorrow. So there's gonna be a video on that. And later this week, I'm gonna be posting the review of the Marin Pine Mountain 2 and Salsa Timberjack not too far after that. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And oh yeah, dang, I don't have any with me, but we just came out with Party Pace patches, which
I know. I gotta
Hey,
get on that. I need to order those patches.
You better warn her
Hey.
about that you're vlogging.
yeah. And they glow in the dark, like the outer edge. So it's-
Oh,
that
the
is
part-
super cool. I didn't even know you
Yeah.
could do that. There's glow in the dark thread. I suppose there is.
actually, it's funny that the patches arrived, and I didn't know that I'd ordered glow in the dark thread until I looked at the invoice. It's like GL something 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 for the thread, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if that means glow. And so I went into the bathroom and was like, oh my god, they glow in the dark. It's amazing.
And you're like, this is even better.
that's the best surprise.
That's awesome.
Now you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why it was a little more money.
Yeah.
That
Totally meant to do that.
totally, man. No, that's awesome. On the dark, heck yeah.
Nice.
That's like, you could even say it's like reflective. No, I guess it's not reflective. But
No, yeah.
that would be a cool shot though. Like you riding by and it's just the outer.
Yeah, the outer.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on the live stream. And as always, everyone, keep the supple side down.